Welcome to another edition of the Red Zone podcast. I'm your host, Emmanuel Point du jour, and we are back with another edition of CFL Tiers, this time heading in to week 8 after 7 weeks. And the tiers, they're starting to become more solidified. You're not seeing as much movement anymore. We're kind of getting a sense of what each team is at this point of the year. It's not really until Labor Day where we really know what each team is, but we're getting there. I mean, there's not as much movement. So without further ado, let's get right into these tiers. And we start always at the bottom as we have the Edmonton Elks and the Ottawa Red Blacks. And their tier name is Panic Mode. Is it time to start panicking for both of these teams? I mean, for Edmonton, you had that game against Ottawa a couple weeks ago. Trey Ford had a perfect passer rating. You're running the ball really well with Justin Rankin. It seemed like everything was coming together, and that was building off of, the weeks leading up to that. It was improving. And then you get to the game against the BC Lions, in which Trey Ford struggled big time. 4 of 12, 37 yards, one interception. And you're like, what happened? The defense, it was not great at all. And you paid a lot of money in the offseason to bring that defensive line in, to bring that secondary in. And you just have not seen the results consistently this year. And it was like a step back, as I said last week. And now you're heading into the bye week and you're thinking, could we be seeing a quarterback change? Well, Cody Fajardo and Trey Ford have been splitting reps. We still don't know who is going to be the starter. That's going to come out tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Cody Fajardo, his revenge game in Saskatchewan against the Riders, but it's not going to get any easier. So you need to find a way to get wins. And if it's going with a quarterback change, then so be it. But maybe giving Trey Ford another chance is not a bad idea either. We'll just have to wait and see what they do. Wait until tomorrow and see who the quarterback is going to be. And then for Ottawa, it's basically a gut punch with Dru Brown going out of the game with, I think it was a head injury. I mean, I saw that big hit. I thought Deshaun Amos was going to get ejected, but he didn't. There was a lot of outrage, especially from Bob Dice about that. Hopefully he's okay and he can return, in next week or who knows, after the bye week. But it's not looking good for Ottawa. That defense is not where they expected to be at this point in the season. They're struggling big time. They're not running the ball effectively. So who knows where Ottawa goes, but you need to start getting wins, and it just seems to be going downhill for the Red Blacks right now. They need to find answers, but a coach firing at this point of the year just doesn't seem very, very likely. So I mean, you're going to have to go in a direction here, but it's going to be really, really tough for Ottawa. And yeah, they need to find answers sooner rather than later. Now let's move on to the next tier, and we have the Toronto Argonauts. And I put demoralizing because you had a 25-7 lead over the Montreal Alouettes, and Montreal comes all the way back and wins the game, dropping the Toronto Argonauts to, I think it was, I'm not sure, 1-5, I think, on the season. And now they also have to play catch up in the East Division with Ottawa. It's just, I mean, Chad Kelly, can he come back and get them back into the playoff race? Possibly. But a guy that's coming off of injury, hasn't played in the year, it's going to be really, really tough. And you have some, injuries on that defense like Winton McManus. So an uphill climb here for the Toronto Argonauts. You needed that win so badly, and to blow a lead like that, it's just demoralizing. So we'll see how they bounce back and if they can get Chad Kelly back soon. The next tier, we have the BC Lions, and I put middle of the pack because that's basically where they are right now. They're 3-4 on the season. They're coming off of a loss against the Riders after a very good win against the Elks. Nathan Rourke's numbers, not too shabby at all. 27 of 41, 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, but they went away from the run game once again. 9 carries for 30 yards for James Butler, but you can't really blame them this time because of what happened at the start of the game. Saskatchewan started off with the ball. They went down the field, got a touchdown, and then BC on the return fumbled. Saskatchewan recovered, and then I think the Riders scored another touchdown after that. So you started down, I think, 17-1 at one point. It was just playing catch up, and they lost the game 33-27. Now, it wasn't really that close. BC scored kind of a last minute touchdown to kind of make the game look closer than it actually was. But the Riders responded, and the Lions now, I mean, they're just inconsistent right now. They lost, back-to-back games early against the Bombers, won 2 games against the Elks, lost to the Riders twice, and then won against the Alouettes by 1 point. So it's really been up and down, and they have to find a way to win against the teams above them in the standings, because I think they only have one win when it comes to that, with the game against the Alouettes by a single point. So we're going to see what they do this weekend against the Tiger Cats, who have a 4-2 record. Let's see if they can win against Hamilton. Now, getting to the next tier, we have the Montreal Alouettes and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and their tier name is Should Be Fine. For Montreal, they lost Davis Alexander to the 6-game injured list, but they still have a pretty good defense there, and guys like Tyson Philpott and Austin Mack in the receiving core. I know they've been dealing with some injuries. I don't think Tyson Philpott is actually playing, but they even got Cole Speaker. I mean, they have depth in that receiving core. I would love to see a little bit more of the running game come back here, because I think Sean Thomas Erlington had that one good week back in week 1, and they just haven't gone to him. And then they started, I think it was like the first 17 offensive plays were all passes until they ran the ball, and then they started getting the run game going. So I'd like to see that get going a little bit more. But as a team in general, I think they're still really good, even with McLeod Bethel Thompson at the helm, and they can keep pace with Hamilton, or at least that's the hope, that, they can compete there with Hamilton for first in the East. And then for Winnipeg, Zach Collaros going down. He was out for the rest of that game against Calgary, but the good news is that he was practicing this week, so hopefully it's nothing serious and he'll be good to go this weekend against the Toronto Argonauts. I think they should be fine. I mean, they ran the ball really well even in those losses with Brady Oliveira. Nick Dembski has been on fire the last few weeks. The consecutive games with a catch just keeps on going up. I think he's at like 76 games with a catch, so that keeps going up. That defense will respond. I know they will after a couple of bad weeks here, but they've only lost to Calgary so far. So they can go in, win back-to-back games against the Argos here. They should be fine and right back up there as contenders in the West, not only in the West, but in the CFL. Next, we have the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and I put firing on all cylinders. Yes, that offense, it's as hot as ever right now with Bo Levi Mitchell and Kenny Lawler. Bo Levi probably on pace for 5,000 yards, has only thrown, I think, 1 or 2 interceptions so far this year. Kenny Lawler, I mean, he's going to break the receiving touchdown in a season record with the pace that he's going on. And then that defense is starting to come along and starting to play really, really well. That rookie linebacker, he's been great. So Hamilton is just starting to put all these things together, and they could very well end first in the division, if they can keep these winning ways going. But still, long season left to go. Let's see what Hamilton can do. But they look really, really good right now. The next tier, we have the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and I put no worries, because after that loss to Calgary, in which they didn't run the ball well, only I think 9 yards for AJ Ouellette, and they just got physically beat. They went into BC and they responded big time. That offense was clicking, especially in the first half. Trevor Harris ended the game with 395 yards and 3 touchdowns, going 23 of 30 passing. AJ Ouellette had a good response game, 15 carries for 72 yards. And then in that receiving core, it's always seeming like someone is stepping up. And this time it was Dante Myers, who had 7 for 132 and 2 touchdowns. In the return of Sam Emelis as well, as he had 2 for 78 yards. So Saskatchewan responding in a big way, but they do not hold the top spot in the tiers, as that belongs to obviously the Calgary Stampeders, and I put against all odds. They won 2 games against Winnipeg at home and in Winnipeg, won by, I think, a combined 42 points. They went into Saskatchewan, beat them after a smoke delay on the Friday, and now they head into Montreal with all the momentum right now. Obviously, Montreal is going to be missing Davis Alexander. So let's see if they can keep those good times rolling for the Stampeders. And that defense has been playing incredibly well. So we'll see what they can do in this game. But that will do it for this edition of CFL Tiers heading into week 8. Here are my quick picks for week 8. I have the Stampeders, the Rough Riders, the Blue Bombers, and the Tiger Cats winning in week 8. I didn't do a Stampeders recap yesterday just because I didn't watch the game last week. I had stuff going on. So next week we are back with the Stamps recap. But I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about the tiers, and who do you have in week 8? I hope you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see you right back here next week. Peace.